Hey, call me Shape, and today I'm reacting to a video titled Pretty Black Women Feel the Pain as Black Men Walk Away. Let's get right into it.
Guys, I was interviewed by Bored Panda about being a child-free woman. Oh my God. So one of the interview questions was, why do people get so hostile when they find out that a person doesn't want kids? And I think there's a multitude of reasons, but the primary ones are that, you know, especially a parent might see a child-free person and it stirs up resentment in them because they had to make a lot of personal and financial sacrifices in order to start a family. Secondly, they may just be jealous. And then thirdly, it may just, you know, remind them that maybe they weren't ready to start a family when they did. I decided not to have children because there's a genetic disease in our family that gets passed down to 50% of the offspring. And I just didn't want to be a mom. I am fine being a rich auntie. I think a lot of people, one of the things that bugs me the most is that people overall do not trust women, especially in their 20s, to make that sort of decision. I hear all the time, you're going to change your mind, blah, 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 like child-free women. They reach out to me. I'm in my mid-40s. I'm not worried about getting pregnant, but so many women in their 20s reach out to me and say, you know, I tell people that I don't want kids, and people always say to them, oh, you'll change your mind. You're not, you know, old enough to make that sort of decision. Trust women. Leave them alone. Even if they do change their mind, get out of their uteruses. Leave them alone. Anyways, do what's best for you. Have kids, start a family, don't have kids, whatever. Just, you know, be nice to those for the decisions that they choose to make. Guys,
I don't think anyone's trying to be mean to this lady, but people find it shocking that some people want to live their lives for selfish pleasure, right? Like, because, you know, my personal view, my Christian view, right, is that we're put on here to create, connect, and contribute. Create, connect, contribute. Or another way you could say it is be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion, okay? And so I don't think we're just here for pleasure. You know, people keep chasing pleasure. The Lord tells us that the flesh is deceitful. Right? The flesh is desperately wicked. And so I don't trust my desires, my feelings, but some women do. And they're allowed to. I'm not saying they have to have kids. If you don't want to have kids, that's fine. You talk about genetic disease that you have, that 50% of your offsprings get. Sounds like natural selection to me. Okay, they're going to weed you guys out anyway. Anyway, here's another 40-year-old woman who says, you know what? I don't have kids. So what? I don't have any. Let's listen to what she has to say and we'll respond.
I'm a 40-year-old childless woman. I have a serious question. How the f do y'all have kids? It blows my mind that people my age have children that are like driving now. Bitch, like I can't even remember taking my clothes out of the dryer. And it wasn't until I was sitting here doing one of these old scrolls on the old Facebook that I realized my favorite wide leg jeans have been in the dryer for 2 days, if not longer. Bitch, I meant washer. Probably means they need to be washed again, but also our house is like 60 degrees, so might be alright. There are towels in here, so that's gonna be a no. Whenever I do this, I legitimately just put white vinegar in there. It can be the Target brand because it's just for your clothes. It'll be fine. Use a little bit of this toxic ass shit, and we're actually almost out. So this is so wasteful! Y'all have kids. Like, how? I'm a 40.
So here's a sailor, right? She's cursing. I know when I edit this video, and you guys probably won't hear the curses because I edited them out, but it's F this, F that, F this, F that. She has a limited vocabulary, okay? Listen, I think people should try their hardest to learn more words of the English language so they can master communication while they're alive. Because people are going to always judge you for how you communicate. And so since she acts like a child, talks like a child, I guess she wants to be treated like a child. And she doesn't want the responsibilities of an adult. I get it. Someone once told me there's 2 phases in life, childhood and parenthood. But a lot of people are skipping parenthood altogether, okay? And that's their choice. They don't have to get to that second phase of life. And in that way, they'll stay in childhood for the rest of their lives. And that's fine, okay? You're allowed to do so. Anyway, there are more women that defend their right not to have children. They don't want to be bothered by you, okay? They're tired of people like us commenting on the fact that they're childless. I just think it's a trend in the world, and I think it's actually being, propaganda to tell women not to have children, especially black women, so we could reduce the population of black people in the future. The fact that people are concerned about this is funny to me. But anyway, let her speak, let her give her parts, and then we'll respond.
One thing's for certain, two things for sure. If you're over 40, baby, you're just getting started, okay? It's not a lot out here that I can guarantee, but I can guarantee you that you're just getting started. You know what I mean? If you look at anybody who's reached a level of success, most people just get started at 40. So when you're thinking that you're behind the 8 ball, baby, you're in front of it. You're right where you're supposed to be. Okay? Stop telling yourself that you can't pivot, you can't transition, you can't turn around, you can't do something different, you can't start over, rebuild, regroup, reset, whatever it is that you're trying to do, rebrand, reinvent, you can do it. But see, you got to believe that you can. See, if you keep telling yourself that you can't, then you won't. All right. What the mind believes is what the body receives. And ultimately, that is what you're going to achieve. So for all of you out there who feel like you are missing the mark, baby, you right on it. And on that note, stay healthy, be well, and take care of you.
It's funny that women show up with the nose ring. And I think to myself, this nose ring is a sign for us not to take them seriously. You are 40 years old with a septum ring. It's a rebellious spirit. This is the Jezebel spirit trying to tell you how to live. Live for pleasure, not purpose. No, there's no purpose in life. For pleasure. Imagine if our ancestors lived exclusively for pleasure. They didn't have a purpose. They didn't seek to serve, right? Our whole community, we live in a community that we have unearned privilege. They say in the Bible, what hast thou that hasn't been given to you? Meaning, like, what do you have that wasn't a gift? Everything you have is a gift. Yet, your goal in life is just to get as much stuff for yourself as possible. Again, I don't see why the world needs people like this. I'm not saying you can't be this way. You can't do this. But it's truly remarkable to me that people want to live and not reproduce. It's a basic function. Why do we even have our growing area for? You still want to have sex. You still want to get smashed. But you don't want to do what that activity is trying to reward you. That pleasure is trying to reward you for baby making. Anyway, you can disagree with me. That's fine. I get it. You want to enjoy sex. You're allowed to. And you are. Okay? Now, some people are going to regret having children. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I'm 45 and child-free, and I regret not having children. I'm just kidding. There's like a small faction of you that have been waiting to hear someone say that. And I know for a brief minute that gave you a bit of a hard on. I was just messing with you a little bit. I don't regret it at all. I'm 45 and child.
It's so funny because I think some people will regret it. Maybe you didn't regret it, and that's fine. You don't have to regret it. But why you guys keep telling about things you don't regret? You keep talking about the past. Let's talk about the future, okay? And children are the future. I'm just saying, okay? And so if they're not part of your future, I get it. But most of us can't take this type of advice because we wouldn't be here by it, right? My parents reproduced, your parents reproduced, everyone successfully reproduced. All of our ancestors successfully reproduced, and I guess we feel like the buck stops here with us or with her, because I'm going to have kids. I don't have any kids yet. I'm 37 without kids, but I'm going to have kids. But for her, she feels like the buck stops with her. Fine. Fair enough, okay? She doesn't want to have kids. But that's different from not being able to have kids. And to me, we're ungrateful if we have the ability to do something we refuse to do, especially when other people are dying to have the ability to do it. Okay? Taking advantage of your youth is one of those things. A lot of women didn't do that. And now they're telling other women not to take advantage of their youth. But you should take advantage of your youth. Here's one of the reasons why. Here is a woman who's 40 years old, and she just had a hysterectomy. Now, if you don't know what a hysterectomy is, we're going to uncover that. But first, let's listen to her testimony of being 40 years old, single, childless, and now without a womb.
Hi, I'm 40, single, with no children, and I just had a hysterectomy. Let's talk about it. 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with fibroids at the age of 32. At the time, I was experiencing symptoms such as very painful menstrual cramps that really had an effect on my ability to live my everyday life and go to work, as well as heavy menstrual cycles. Eventually, my symptoms got worse, and it led to me experiencing having a lot of pain during adult fun. We'll just say it like that. Throughout the years, I managed the symptoms with birth control, hormonal birth control, pills, patches, shots, rings, all of the things. And I wasn't really a fan of that. Birth control is great for people who want to use it, but for me, it had a lot of different adverse effects that I really wasn't a fan of. So I knew that that was not going to be a long-term solution to manage my fibroids. Fast forward to 2022 when Roe v. Wade was overturned and my dating life was abysmal. I had to think long and hard about whether or not I saw myself having children as being a part of my future. And ultimately, I didn't. For starters, I have 3 beautiful nieces who I play a very active auntie role with. Me and my sister live in different cities. My nieces live with her. However, I do play a very active role in their life in all of the ways, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, the whole thing. So it's already like I have kids, even though they aren't mine. I love them to death. They are my everything. And I didn't really feel like I needed to have or birth my own children to fulfill that area of my life because it's already been fulfilled. The second reason is not a generalization. I don't want to say all women, but many women that I've seen that have children don't appear to be that happy to me. And it's not for them to qualify or quantify their happiness to me like I'm nobody to them, but just me from the outside looking in, and also seeing a lot of posts on social media and people that I know in real life. Raising kids seems to be really hard and it doesn't seem that fun. And I know it sounds very immature of me to think about such a lifelong decision in terms of whether or not it's fun, but ultimately I've grown really accustomed to having a good life with very little responsibility. I do have responsibility to my family, my mom, my sister, my nieces. However, if I want to opt out of that, I can really opt out of that whenever I want to. I don't have to do it. It's not a requirement of me. And also having children in my space 24/7, there are days where my mental health is really suffering and I don't have the energy to deal with children. And why should they suffer because I'm going through my own things? It's not fair to them, right? So yeah, it just doesn't seem like fun. And I really enjoy my life of being able to get up and go and do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it without the consideration of all of the implications that come with having children. And last but not least, I have not met one man in my entire life that I felt like was worth me going through that process for. Having children from a physical standpoint is brutal on a woman's body. Women literally give their lives to bear children. And I really have not found one man that I thought, ooh, he's so amazing, he's so great that I'm willing to sacrifice my life for him. Immediately, no. If I do ever get into a relationship with a man again, I do not want him to have any leverage over me in the way of a child. A lot of times, men will use children as a means to control and trap women. I know that it's always said the opposite way, that women trap men with children, but I've experienced it the opposite way. And I don't ever want to be trapped or controlled by a man through a child. I don't want to be trapped or controlled by a man, period. But having a child and being attached to a man in that way makes that scenario a lot more likely, right? If I'm entering a relationship with someone, it's because I love and I care about them and that relationship suits me at the time. And if for whatever reason it doesn't suit me anymore, I want to be able to go the same way that I came with no kids. Now, considering everything that I just...
All right, I can't listen to this anymore. You know what? I thought she was married. I could have sworn I seen a ring on her finger. But I guess that's just a prop. I guess it's just... She wants to appear like she's married, but she's not. So here's a woman who's average, maybe below average in looks, who's 40 years old, so she's not in her prime anymore. She's had a bunch of health problems, which, by the way, I'm going to tell you like this, and I know you might not agree with me, but a lot of those, like fibroids, dietary, 100%. 100%. All the meat and dairy people eating that they think they're supposed to eat that animal, they're supposed to drink the milk of another animal. I get it, you think you're supposed to. Well, I don't know. Fibroids are pretty consistent with people that eat the standard American diet. Yeah. And I've known people who went plant-based and their fibroids went away. I know it sounds like a shock to you. I know. How can, right? Fruits and vegetables, living plants. There's no way that's healthy. We need protein. Protein, man. You guys fall for the marketing every single time. If you do the research, Americans don't need any more protein, but they keep pushing protein onto you. Why? Because it sells. It makes billions of dollars. Okay? Everyone that eats the most protein, they're not the healthiest. Eating a bunch of dead flesh for your living flesh, it seems counterproductive. And it is. Okay? If something on your body died, they'd chop it off. When people had diabetes, the dude LeVar Ball, he had diabetes, which, by the way, is another dietary disease, okay? Vegans and plant-based people don't get diabetes. People are like, it's the carbs, it's the carbs, it's the carbs, because you got high sugar, high sugar. High sugar is a symptom. It's not the cause. Okay, yeah, you're going to have high sugar if your body is filled with fat inside your blood vessels, and it cakes up the lumen. If you know what the lumen is, that's the circumference around the inside of your blood vessels, and it prevents the cells in your blood vessels from absorbing the sugar from your diet. Okay, the bloodstream is supposed to transport nutrients. One of those nutrients is sugar. The sugar is supposed to go to the cells so cells could do their work, cell work. Okay, the body prefers glucose as its primary fuel in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I'm saying all this to say this. It is not the sugar. It is the fat in the diet. Where's all the fat coming from? The meat and the dairy. Meat is 50% fat usually, and dairy is probably 20% fat. And cheese is probably 70% fat. So diet shouldn't even be discussed based on meat or vegetables. It really should be discussed based on how much fat is in your diet. And if you eat a lot of meat, processed foods, and dairy, you're going to have a lot of fat in your diet. And all that fat in her diet is causing her a bunch of health problems. So eat plant-based. That's just my advice to you. Do whatever the hell you want. Anyway, my whole point here for her, though, is she makes a point that she followed the dogma, to do what the dogma says, eat what the dogma says eat, think of the way the dogma says to think, live like the way the dogma says to live. And so therefore she wants to be a rich auntie and no responsibilities, and she don't want the, she's living in fear. She's feared that a man's going to use a kid and her and blah, blah, all this nonsense. Who wants to live like this? This is why when you serve the devil, you're going to be in confusion. The devil is the author of confusion. All this was designed to confuse you. None of this makes sense. So you lived your life haphazardly. Now you lost your womb. Now you can't have kids. It don't even matter if you want kids. Why even talk about the fact you don't want kids? You can't have kids. It's too late. Now, she had a child in her 20s before she had a hysterectomy. It wouldn't even matter. And this is why time is of the essence. Okay? It's of the essence. Okay? Now, for those who don't know what a hysterectomy is, I did my little research, so I'm going to make it clear for you guys. You guys don't got to think about it. A hysterectomy is a surgical procedure to remove the uterus, also known as the womb. Okay? And for you guys who don't know your way around the punani, I got a picture for you. Right here. Types of hysterectomy. Partial. Okay? This part of the uterus. Total, which is the large part of the uterus, I guess the rest of it, right? And then radical, which is you're removing the fallopian tubes as well. And this part down here is the vaginal canal. This is where people insert their Johnson into, okay? That's what's going on. Anyway, all this is bad news to me because I think it's sad that we rely on doctors to tell us the wrong diet, which leads us in their office because we're sick. And now their drugs don't work on us. She said, right, they gave her testosterone and they gave her hormone drugs. The hormone drugs don't work. So what's the last result? To cut things out your body. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I would trust somebody whose goal is to cut things out my body and then charge me for it. You guys start to see the twilight zone that we live in now? Feed you the bad diet. When you go into them because you're sick, they give you medicine that doesn't work, right? Big food, big pharma, big hospitals, right? Big food, feeding you the crap. Big pharma, trying to give you the pills to feed that ill. And then big hospitals, with the big surgeries. Cutting things out of your body. I don't believe, godly-wise, we're supposed to cut things out of our body. Okay, the most I would want a hospital to do is to put me back together if somehow I'm in a wreck or in an accident and I fell apart. But God forbid that happens. But to cut things out of my body, that's not the way I'm going to live. You guys can do whatever the hell you want. I'm not going to cut things out of my body. I'm not going to get no chemo. I'm not going to do none of that stuff. I'm not even going to do none of the tests. And you don't got to trust me. You could trust whoever the hell you want. But if you do trust what I'm saying, I would recommend you listen to Peter Rogers, MD. He's a doctor on YouTube. You can Google him, Peter Rogers, MD. He has about 10,000 subscribers, and he talks about the healthiest diet known to man, which, drumroll please, is a low-fat vegan diet. There, I said it. Anyway, we're going to end on a positive note, okay? Because we're talking about some sad stuff here. You know, the government treating us bad, telling us to eat the wrong things, so we end up in a hospital. But here is a lady who actually, you know, didn't have kids like everybody else in her 40s, early, like in her 20s and her 30s, didn't get married. She did everything kind of late and backwards, but she actually ended up on a happy note. So I want to share her story, and we're going to react to it.
Here's me, 43, single and childless, but still optimistic about life. At 44, I met a good man whose values match mine and who loved me just for me. And then when
That is creepy. But look, I've found that girls take pictures of you like this in bed if they really like you. If a woman takes a picture of you sleeping, she really likes you. This girl really likes this guy.
46, I got the biggest surprise. Pregnant with my first baby. We couldn't be more excited. And you know what? I carried her to term and she came out healthy. So don't let anybody tell you what cannot be done. Don't give up hope about having a family.
I love this story, and it's a great end on it. And there's some key takeaways here. I want you to take some key takeaways here, okay? By the way, they have a beautiful daughter. Looks like all three of them. Lucky, and this is what I mean. You guys want to skip this process? Do you know how happy she is? Do you think those other 40-year-old women making us the TikToks are, oh my God, I don't care about kids. I don't care about kids. You think they're living a better life than her? This is the best life, not just for women, for men too. To have a family, this is the best life. And we're doing what God wants us to do. Be fruitful, multiply, have dominion. Anyway, I want to say this, right? Takeaways that you can obviously get from this. One, this lady is a very attractive black woman, even in her 40s. Meaning that there's women that she's more attractive than that are younger than her, right? There's women in their 30s and 40s that she's more attractive than. Which, by the way, as black women, you guys are lucky. You guys, black women have some really good, I mean, I'm black too, so black people, we got some really good genetics. It is what it is, right? We got godly genetics. Anyway, but she fell in love with an average guy. This dude's not like some Chad. This dude's not no Tyrone. This dude's not no Pookie. He's not no Ray Ray. He's an average guy. Which, by the way, what it says is that men, even the average man, even if he effed up his whole life, even in his 40s, he could potentially still have a family with an attractive woman that's excited to be with him. That's what it's like to be a man. Men, we get the last laugh. Women, y'all got the first laugh. Men, we get the last laugh, meaning that our prime starts past 35. This dude's obviously past 35, and this is probably the baddest girl he's ever been with, and now he has a kid by her. Okay? Super flex. I'm proud of this dude. I'm proud of them. This, to me, is the outcome I think more people should chase after. Stop trying to chase after I don't want a kid. I don't want a kid. I get it. You don't want accountability. You don't want responsibility. You don't want anything, right? But God forbid something happens to you. You want to call somebody that you hope you could depend on, right? You hope you could depend on. We call 911 so we could get emergency services. But imagine if they weren't dependable. They couldn't show up and do their job. How bad that would be, right? So I'm saying this to say that if we want people to be reliable in our lives, dependable in our lives, we got to be reliable and dependable, and not like this whole frivolous, like, oh, I'm an auntie, I don't need to take care of my kids, I'm involved in life, and when I want to give them away, I give them back away. Who else could live like that in this society and be functioning? We all have to provide for each other. We're all interdependent. We all have to work together. Okay, and all these selfish people that don't want kids and don't want this, you know, I'm kind of agreeing with J.D. Vance. What J.D. Vance said, he said all these, like, you know, single childless women in their 40s, these cat ladies, they want to vote on something, but how are you going to get a vote for something that you have no real stake in the game for? If you don't have no kids, what stake in the game do you got? A lot of people want a better country, a better planet for their kids to grow up in. Think about that. You know, if you're a good person and you have children, if you want to do a nice gesture for a person that has a child, treat their child well. It'll be way better than treating them well. You do good by their kids, they're gonna love you forever. Okay, and that's just a sign of what I think we need to be. We need to be in a place where we care about something more than just ourselves, because we want everyone else to do that. We want everyone else to do that. You don't want to go to the hospital and someone say, we don't feel like doing our job right now. You don't want to go anywhere. You don't want to go to the supermarket and say, we didn't feel like doing our job, so we didn't bring any food. Everybody's providing a service, and that's why we even live in a utopia called America right now. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to say this. Anyway, like the video, subscribe to the channel blowing up. I appreciate you guys. Check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you over there.